The question mark in the video title is there for a reason. I swear. This video is not intended to drag Hideo Kojima or his legacy through the mud. I don't know him as a person and can't completely look behind his artistic vision. And even if Kojima Productions, despite the name, consists of more than Hideo Kojima sitting isolated in a perfectly Hideo Kojima-sized room, or in a facility producing more Hideo Kojimas. Furthermore, I try to evaluate Death Stranding as its own independent game, almost completely outside the context of his previous work. Outside the fundamental basics of the first 2 chapters, some funny little things, and a look at the basic structure of the story, no concrete spoilers ahead. I think? Thank your friend to German language for making that possible. Unless. This video will however show gameplay mechanics from later chapters. And finally, I have and probably will pronounce everything wrong that was ever wrongly pronounced. I, the owner of the channel Jane the Plain, am already sorry. But now let's get to the beginning. This actress was also in The Lobster. Why do I say this? Her character likes eating these worm thingies. What does consume other life forms that are smaller than themselves? A lobster! You heard it right! Death Stranding is an alternate universe version of The Lobster where innocent animals are turned into humans! Sick! Sorry, wrong chapter. On the 12th of August 2014, a little inconspicuous free game only titled PT appeared on the PSN store. All who dared this unknown entity were served an intense horror atmosphere. However, the biggest shock just waited after the spooky hallways, hitting the player when they were most vulnerable. This turned out to be a playable teaser for a game that Hideo Kojima of Metal Gear fame would make in cooperation with the director of probably one of your nicer nightmares, Guillermo del Toro, and the protagonist would be portrayed by Walking Dead actor Norman Reedus, and the game was called Silent Hills! Wow! After all these years of struggling, the Silent Hill series could finally look through the fake fog forward to a potentially bright future. Yay! Everything nice! Woo! But then the actual horror surprise striked. A messy breakup between Hideo Kojima and his publisher Konami. Kojima's name was removed from Konami's websites and his games. His team, logically named Kojima Productions, was dissolved into tiny pieces and flushed down the drain along with the Silent Hill reboot. During this whole burning bridges process, PT disappeared amid the salty depths of the PSN store. Then it could not even be officially re-downloaded. Then people sold their PS4s for thousands of dollars in memory of their Flappy Bird. Then someone remade it and got sued, but at least he got an internship offer. Then despite that, or because of that, someone else remade it but took it down. Then the original PT was for 3 seconds backwards compatible with the PS5? But then that got patched. But now you can just play several fan-made PT interpretations, including one imagined Silent Hills in Dreams on PS4, while watching the lady from Funny Girl sing a song about that on your 3DS. I love living at the edge of modern technology. Meanwhile, was Hideo Kojima's first real video game baby left in Konami's custody. But then, there came a surprise twist! Despite giving birth to a weird pachinko gambling machine, the Metal Gear franchise suddenly soared like a phoenix from its long winter sleep to a new high! Oh, sorry. That was the Devil May Cry series. The Metal Gear series, for its part, is nowadays mostly a hopeful rumor mill and an expensive car that refuses to be started again. But what about Hideo Kojima? Did he get discouraged and started a full-time fan account about the Danish actor who's most likely to play someone handling sad human meat, Mads Mikkelsen? No! And kinda. In 2015, logically named Kojima Productions, resurfaced with an interesting logo as an independent studio. Then, during E3 2016, they dropped the announcement trailer for their first project, titled Death Stranding, again starring Norman Reedus, that made people meme and speculate to their heart's content. More trailers revealing gameplay and digital Mads Mikkelsen followed. And finally, in November 2019, Death Stranding got released, at last breaking Guillermo del Toro's unlucky streak with video games. But then, shortly after that, the unlucky streak of the world in terms of modern pandemics got kicked off again and... Are you here to talk about your need to be loved by faceless names on your smartphone? What did happen with my counselor? I know we have the same voice, face, but different personalities. But that one of us got a counseling license? And how do you know about... You have a platform? Why are you asking? I am an up-and-coming YouTuber. I just need a topic, and I will become just as famous as...
Insert 2018 internet celebrity.
I have the right thing just for you. What? Death Stranding? I don't even know what the gameplay is. How did you... I extracted it directly from Hideo Kojima's brain. Cool. I did not know that a counseling license lets you do that. Is a counseling license a thing actually? Whatever. My job here is done. Now go away! Sound effects don't make you move faster? I still can't see you. God damn it! The door's stuck! Stop staring at me! I accept that without a single mean comment because I still have optimism in my body and no one is taking that away. Not even if a pandemic would. You have to turn the handle the other way. I know that. Why are you even going to counseling with Sunshine? Door's stuck! Ah! Right after starting it up, Death Stranding already thinks you're close enough buddies to ask for your birthday, to determine your dooms level, and no one seemingly knows what it does. And here we already have encountered a funny new word. Therefore, before going any further, to put everyone on the same playing field in the art of Death Stranding discussion, and not totally just as a mental challenge for myself, I will now try to describe the scenario, only the scenario of this game, as much as I understood it. I have a cold, I am already sorry. That's going to be so fun! That was like an explosion, if it was not a metaphor or something, and now the world of the living and dead are connected, and if you leave a corpse it will dissolve into toxic gold particles and become one of those dangerous invisible thingies called beached things that get drawn to the rain that gets triggered by sad toxic gold particles, I think, and they locate people with their breath and can apparently only really be seen if your doom level is high enough, due to the world looking like beautiful scanned-in stone frescoes and those gold particles, I think, preventing air travel. Single lonely parcel delivery people have to crawl through the elements to bring single lonely science people the hairbrush they ordered in a sale 3 months ago, and sometimes humans? This is Sam Kamikaze Squirrel Potter Bridges. While he can't directly see those invisible beached thingies, he can sense them, which seems not to be influenced by the knowledge of what my star sign is, so He can also revive himself in case of death by his soul swimming back to his body in this ocean of death while leaving a weird imprint to taunt him for all his bike accidents. With this skill set, he became a well-known delivery man, but he can't really bask in all his fame because he has a fear of random people rubbing their grubby little hands on his face. But at least he's not one of those people who, and I am not making this up, became addicted to delivering packages and now steal them from you, but you don't but they don't deliver them for you for some reason. And there's time rain that makes everything it touches age, and this woman that eats floating insects named Fragile, and her company is named Fragile, or she just wanted a fancy name for a jacket that extrudes spikes, and this umbrella that someone had to design. This dude with a BB that is a baby. I see what you did there, Hideo. And that's short for Bridges Baby, that comes from the world of death via a dead mother, I guess, and can help locate these invisible ghost thingies. This cool shot, and this cool shot, and this random lullaby singing lady that is your adoptive sister that sends you on a mission to reconnect America by fixing all those routers on his post-escapism tour. And this dude, Guillermo del Toro, portraying goodest scientists as one would expect, and other people, and your package delivery performance gets dragged into the all too familiar space of public-like scrutiny and random words that make me feel like I have accidentally swallowed down a Christopher Nolan science jargon generator that had a steamy affair with a David Fincher imagery generator that had a pet rock with Hideo Kojima, and based on that competent scenario synopsis, you can almost pin down what you will do in this game. You painstakingly bring people their packages with more or less annoyingly specific requirements and environmental challenges thrown in your way without accidentally throwing them and or yourself down a mountain because you somehow thought for a second you were playing that fabled NTSC PS2 component cable 1080i Jackers game that never leaves my thoughts as completely as I wanted. You get vehicles and weapons to make your trips faster when the world lets you. If you are real nice, you can scan your environment with your backpack flower and pick up lost cargo. For all that, you get rewarded with likes, and with higher levels for certain delivery locations, occasional gifts. In its broad strokes, not ridiculously common, but still gameplay you can imagine in other games. But there come the unique gameplay choices. Sam has to keep his balance, shifting his center of gravity in the right direction to not get buried under all those packages and complainy low scores. For a safer walk, he can also individually stabilize himself with either arm. Just press L2 and R2 to see those arms do things. Or use it to carry stuff in your hand by holding down the respective butt for the love of your finger, if possible, just put it on your back. With R1, you can meanwhile have the unique experience of manually suffocating yourself, which makes you less likely to be found by invisible ghost people. But to reliably stealth your way through those weather-related encounters, you get a BB that lets your scanner flower flap in the general direction of those beached thingies. Back on the road, you will realize that Sam starts to complain because a stamina bar slowly drips down with your package delivery journey. Actions like holding down your breath, stabilizing, or stomping through lakes need stamina, and if you run out, I am so sorry. I would now complain that many of Hideo Kojima's planned moments of atmospheric staging, where the melancholic music sets in to commemorate the last meters of an important delivery, and the camera tries to make everything look serene, will end up the victim of clumsiness. But there are difficulty options that make it less likely to trip your bones out for that cinematic experience. With a little penalty, you can even change the difficulty mid-mission, so props to Hideo Kojima. Some people in other mediums would not have let variations in the consumption of their artistic vision slide, so... But back to Death Stranding. Over the chapters of the game, you get in a nice frequency more and more gadgetry, keeping the gameplay surprisingly fresh, and at the same time adding more smaller systems to manage. Stuff has batteries that drain but also recharge in the sun. Equipment takes up space on your back when you are not directly using it, and also suffers with every time drain and silly act of me being me. Even if I have to note that some systems end up a bit underutilized for my taste. And what about the famous peeing from the trailer? You can pee anywhere till your bladder's empty. Snow will realistically vanish. Sam hides what has to be hidden. BB will laugh. When you're done, a mushroom appears. And that's it. It's fun the first time, but it's basically wasting anti-BT resources. No, you don't need context. So everything is fine, understandable even, here when I explain it after finishing the game, but before that? If I have to describe what this game did with my mind at the beginning, I would say it made me feel something that I haven't felt in years, which is commendable, I guess. I think it put me in the shoes of someone that had no contact with normal video games whatsoever, but you set them in front of a normal video game. Only that the person is me, and a normal video game is not a normal game, but Death Stranding. Basically a fascinating but also uncomfortable non-gamer simulator. You have to somehow wrap your head around those seemingly random rules, button combinations, jargon, and controller sensibilities without much of your known normal video game framework as a reference. But the realism! Maybe that will somehow become the equalizer that pushes the playing experience towards something intuitive. Look at those fingerprints, those smartphone handcuff burns. Digital Norman Reese has a dangly thingy in the back of his throat for Hideo Kojima's sake. And this most high poly model product placement that somehow means that Monster was the one brand that made it through the apocalypse. Why did this become a running gag? Sam being able to choke 3 cans down in one terrifying monster raid without slowly dying in agonizing pain is the most unrealistic thing in the game, and therefore diverting from the point. But you get it. If you cut the humans out, you could sell me the stone landscape as a real-life photo, and I would not realize the difference. And that has the potential to become a desert of false, real-life based assumptions only tutorial texts can correct. Sometimes they are only there when you run into them, which should not be difficult, you're probably thinking right now. But have you seen my Sam trying to arduously crawl up the stone wall on the exact wrong side of this valley without realizing it? But he should look for a rope, which is written in the tutorial texts. You only get on the right side. So what has happened? The nature is so naturalistic in its fiction that my underachiever brain got confused that Sam with a corpse on his back can't haul himself up there. Many games avoid that consequence of increasingly realistic graphics by, unlike real life, leading you to the intended goal, while at the same time making it just not that obvious. In Death Stranding, I spent a handful of moments trying to Assassin's Creed the one path that says, don't, and the climbing equipment only dangerously enhanced my overconfidence. Maybe, of course I could just miss the cues, because my incompetence is the real unavoidable mountain not even the director of video games could account for. It gets worse when you lose the markers you set among the stones, or the scanner flower bathes your environment in informational but cluttered little symbols, or you have to somehow toggle on your map through all the information gathered in human history. And right back at the beginning of the game, I read text I did not get the meaning of. If I wasn't a social human today, I would let you, my English-speaking viewer that may exist, try reading this text, but no. It basically says that you need to hold down square sometimes, but also assures me, and I'm not kidding here, that I will not always have to hold down square, but also other buttons on other occasions. This sounds in my head like a cryptic message someone wrote in a fever dream after reading every tutorial text in existence. And I flailed, this terminal turns into the biggest obstacle, and I accidentally clicked somewhere and deliver the packages, but also kind of not, and I went back and poked blindly in this interface, and I got confused, and it's not making sense, and then I hit something, and then my mission was done, and what did I do right there? And now I have to somehow replicate that. How do those Death Stranding gamers do that? What buttons exist again? I don't know. This text down here is so small. How can anybody that does not hate everyone who is not a human human falcon hybrid leave a game with such a glaring issue, I would say. But at the exact opposite end, after finishing the game, I just randomly decided to take a look at the update log on the starting screen and... Nothing could be done about the mice font in-game, but apparently I should have just consulted the almighty main menu options. But finally, the text is almost as chunky as... The balance between chocolate and wafer is kinda off. But it's still chocolate, so 7 out of 10. Fans get it, noobs wait for the trial version. This disheartened me so much, I go back to the game again. To conveniently tell you now that the aforementioned first delivery experience made me dread even the thought of starting up this game again. But then I started to get the hang of the gameplay. At the same time, that sense of usefulness started filling my virtual routine, as I brought NPCs their packages and got showered in their compliments and likes that do, besides this really ignorable marginal stat leveling system, just as much as in real life. But the click my brain produces while registering those rising digital numbers made me somehow uncontrollably write the script and for some reason celebrate on my keyboard. Why? Sorry. Just to then end the day in one of Sam's hideouts and to take a relieved breather and a shower or go to the immersion breaking toilet like a normal person. This was, however, not my favorite gameplay aspect. Besides the too good equipment snowboarding, that should be its own Olympic category and in my opinion like Digital Guillermo del Toro in every game from now on. Because it was good. Something that Hideo Kojima spent many interviews explaining the importance of, maybe even putting it in a spotlight as the main feature and theme of this game. That surprised me positively again and again. A trend Dark Souls made popular and Devil May Cry 5 had to confuse everybody before release, I guess. While spreading the run note meme I want back because it was the year 2019. Indirect interaction by other players in a single player game. Besides going with the completely literal meaning of building connections, when you connect an area to the Americanet, things other players place there can make your life much easier, and vice versa. Nice looking signs alert you of danger, but also can lead to memory chips that give you a random piece of mostly actually existing Japanese pop culture Hideo Kojima maybe likes, and now is canon in Death Stranding. Contribute materials for streets that make bikes a more viable option for the non-stubborn. Sometimes you can find already built bridges. I see what you did for Hideo Kojima. That range from playing music to housing a dinosaur from Horizon Zero Dawn, because Guerrilla Games let Kojima Productions use their engine. Now you know. Sam can scream his heart out and sometimes other Sams will remind you that his name was popular. Or it is something with parallel universes. Digital Science hasn't decided yet. And you can of course also like other people's mushrooms by bashing the satisfying but sadly underutilized clicky DualShock 4 touchpad every console ever should of course have. But looking back at the overall gameplay, even after the acclimatization, it was not completely to my taste. For me the travel often felt too long-winded, unless it goes down slope. When you are overloaded, you lose to every slope poke in the business. Many vehicles control only with the will of someone trying to tame a wild horse. Hideouts don't share their inventory, so you always leave behind valuable anti-BT resources, and no, you don't need context. I, however, can see all those gameplay decisions being made deliberately for immersion's sake. If the travel was easy, and you could carry everything like a breeze, what would be the point in doing all this until you get digitally exhausted, and you have to take a nice nature nap, or sip from your flask with... I know video games need money to be made. Is the Strand game genre, or however it is called on the back of your box, the real deal? By the way, a teeny tiny improvised tangent. The word strand game was really confusing for me to read on the box at first because Strand is a German word for beach, but I think they meant strand, like 2 strings, I guess. I think you can call strand or your hair or something. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. And like the word is like used once in the German dub, the exact English word. So that was confusing. And there's also like stranded and gestrandet, but it's really confusing and I'm not 100% sure what they exactly meant, to be honest. But I think it's strand, not strand game, strand game. Tangent over. I think, and some people will disagree with me here, no, it's not a genre, because it's one single game. But let's pretend that next year we get Seahorse Single Dead, an aquatic Death Stranding prequel, thereby making Death Stranding join the ranks of all the random other things that are maybe a franchise. You know as much as I know. But back to Seahorse Single Dead, the promising potential prequel pitch that Kojima Productions should not ignore. You could of course say that it's not its own genre due to it using elements from the action-adventure like walking, driving, fisticuffs and concepts from every Postman game in existence and. But just because it has the same elements as something else does not mean that its specific combination of said elements doesn't warrant its own label. So yeah, I would consider the Strand game its own genre, even if you can still apply the work simulator and aimlessly walking around in emptiness simulator labels. It's like the thumb and finger thing. Every Death Stranding is an action adventure, but not every action adventure is a Death Stranding. On your Doomsday Delivery adventures, you bring sometimes weirdly personal items to the holograms of a vast array of minor NPCs, who I would describe as the slightly bland and therefore realistic people with maybe a not completely uninteresting job at a party that does not exist because pandemic. Of course, there are also outliers that don't care about free trial America Online and need to be persuaded with physical labor, or only want the net but no contractual obligations like digital freeloaders. But at least they are not that horrible guy that wants a pizza delivered in the midst of an apocalypse and then has the guts to not show up several times. You pizza-hogging digital scum! You are the real antagonist of this game. I hope this digital pizza is slightly more crusty than socially acceptable. Ha! A nice touch are the emails filled with more emojis than a Facebook page of someone's distant relative. All those NPCs, including that one, will send you throughout the game. For example, there are some from someone taking little non-literal steps to deal with anxiety issues, or some that show the contrast between our reality and their current super apocalypse, and even a chain of emails that are a sort of epilogue for a side quest, while also awkwardly dropping someone's entire backstory. And then there are the ones that had to sprinkle tutorial text in. Some surprisingly subtly demonstrate the character of the sender by mentioning their delivery preferences. But then we also have one where this fictional dude wanted to hit every equally fictional bird with one stone by proclaiming in a rapture of nostalgic memory that BBs differ from simple tools by their social behavior of giving you likes. If I was hypocritical, I would now say how messed up and doomed this fictional, totally unrelated world is. But of course, this could also be just a simple case of someone going, you know, fourth wall, punch, punch, wink, wink. Or maybe I just don't like any distractions from the tons of digital praise for Sam's competent deliveries. Overall, on the one hand, I wish those world-building tidbits had been more incorporated into dialogue instead of just being static text. On the other hand, however, I already bored my way through some of the explanatory world-building monologues that are there, so I think this could only be remedied with, for my taste, more interesting dialogue. Here I of course have to note that in the worst case, I may got here a translation of a translation. From Kojima's Japanese initial text to an English script for the actors to perhaps a German translation of said script. Maybe the Japanese version has that slight but noticeable edge on the interestingness scale. I don't know, your mileage may vary. But what about the characters that have to carry the main story? During the story, the main protagonist Sam is a realistic representation of an overworked, mostly ignored parcel delivery man. Besides some well-sprinkled in self-loathing and self-motivational talk, and occasional reminders of the basics of his rough character, he's mostly ruggedly marching on in the background. While this grew on me over the course of the game, he could have been, for my taste, a little bit more present. Because this here is not a 2-hour movie, but a 30-hour plus video game. But outside the story, look at whatever he's doing in this clip. I don't know about that one either. A script has no eyes, okay? He even shows the camera his trauma processing diorama. That little playful extra is actually already here. But besides, I think one main story moment, just not much outside the hideouts. Which, however, also does make sense. The cutscene moods are mostly melancholic and repressed. In the first chapters, most important side characters can't really compensate Sam's ordinary, slightly annoyed presence. After that, actual unique things and concepts do happen to them. But before that, besides a few little glimpses of something interesting showing through the lines, most of them are for several hours full-time digital human tutorial machines. Of course, we also have here big outliers like Mads Mikkelsen's character or Fragile, who I think were immediately appealing and interesting. But in this game, you have, depending on your own incompetence, several dozens of minutes walking between the next big or small scene. And if you are unlucky, you get on the way a tedious philosophical speech by science monologue urine hand grenade man who is based on one of Hideo Kojima's movie director buddies. No, you don't need the context for that, and the context is less interesting than you think. It's just, I would have liked the other important side characters to be from the start interesting people. And here I will use the one free Metal Gear reference every Death Stranding review gets. That you want to contact via codec, but you can't on your own contact anybody in this game, so... And now, a scripted tangent no one in the audience will care about, but if that is Hideo Kojima plus his company's video game, then this here is my video. Death Stranding has, in my opinion, a solid jump up. More solid than Metal Gear Solid.
Och, Sie schmeicheln mir.
Nein.
It's just so wonderful to hear drum voice actor unironically say the names Die Hard Man and Amelie America Strand. In my opinion, Hideo Kojima has outdone himself with those names. But besides that, not every single minor and even bigger NPC springs with emotions in this dub, which probably contributed to my boringly written dialogue complaint a bit. And now, what I'm going to say is not meant to insult Norman Reedus' person or work, but for me, it is really not meant in a mean way, like I'm not a professional actor or something. His original English language performance made me think a little bit of someone gargling rocks for a hobby. Here English?
What are you talking about? You think you can recruit me? Like she tried to?
Here German?
Was soll das heißen? Ihr glaubt, ihr könnt mich rekrutieren? So wie sie es versucht hat?
And of course, everyone who's used to the original English version has in this very moment similar reservations about these German voice lines. Which is understandable. Sam as a character is rough and leads a rough life, and maybe the original voice performance reflects that. I am not sure if it's easy to evaluate a foreign language dub anyway, but... Ice Dog Lawyer, is the video titled clickbait? Technically no? Okay, we can start. Hey ho yo! Hey Ice Dog Lawyer, why are you leaving? We lost another one. We need this review out fast. Come on, someone. Why does this emulator not work on my laptop? Because it's old. It's at least better than a PS2, okay? Emulating stuff is different. Why are you looking and sounding like me? Why are you... Let go of me! What did happen? Nostalgia sure can fry your brain, but be thankful that I even carry your weird body despite you not listening to me. Why do I have clones? I think it's the smoke. You're a clone too. I want to smoke ist my lungs long ago? You're so heavy. Why is my laptop burning over there? Wow, you're changing subjects a lot. Boss, why are you playing Yakuza 3 right now? It's not the right time to... Words still burning. Okay. I just wanted to ask about the people that wanted to clean up the ashes just arrived, and what are we supposed to do now? Just get out. I need to carry some cones. Why are we here again? Because your laptop smoked our office. What is an office? An office is... We just need to get in and get a PS4 controller, and then we go out. Do we really need to poke in dead people's stuff for a controller? Do you want to buy a new one? Oh, okay. Wow! The stench of desperation. I thought nothing could beat the office. Wow! Get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out, gang, 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 sicherlich, gang, 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 I think I found it! In terms of audio, center right, Jane, take the controller. I have to ensure that nothing radiates here. That's weird, but okay. Thanks for risking your life. In contrast to the gameplay, but like the characters, the story itself needs a few chapters to get going. Meanwhile, Death Stranding's approach of dropping the player right into its apocalyptic setting made the process for me that slight bit extra exhausting. But I can see how the more decoding-affine people will find that really appealing. But now, moving to an important aspect I have not covered yet. The BB is an important character even if its gameplay use is a bit limited. When it does not detect BTs, it cries whenever you fall 3 centimeters, and then you have to comment with the help of the PS4 controller's gyro sensors, which I always support. And besides that, not much more, which confused me in this otherwise detail-rich game, and is even more jarring, in contrast to all the stuff digital Mads Mikkelsen does in BB POV. Sam can't even show whatever that is. There's like a Bond ranking that goes up with certain gameplay actions. But as far as not all of Kojima Productions trapped in one human body can tell, it was not that much noticeable in terms of gameplay. Yes, not everything has to do something monumental, but why then have that game stat? Maybe make the cries of the BB with a certain star level strong enough that it paralyzes those beach thingies. I don't know. There are possibilities. Without much gameplay incentives, BB felt for me a bit irrelevant outside its bonding with Sam maybe being one of the main themes of the story. Of course it has all those cute reactions, and you and this baby get closer by matter of just passive close proximity for several hours. But with exception of 1 or 2 nice but missable moments, there's not as much as in my opinion could have been. And yes, I know that would have entailed more work hours and budget. In its current state, this digital relationship appeared to me as only a slightly more interesting fusion of Baby Mario, a radar extension, and a companion cube. And now something some people would consider a spoiler, but I think you can guess where this direction goes. I don't know, skip if you need it. Then in a later chapter, apparently Sam's bond with BB got good enough to give him a name off screen and become completely protective of this now human. The bond only burned more because the acting in that scene was really nice. But at this point of the story, the game finally gets some steam and starts to focus on the different reoccurring characters. And my interest picks up, even if I still think some of the objectives and science babble could be cut from the stake. There's even a segment with a gameplay twist I did not expect, that however for me lost its luster with being in the game 3 similar times for some comedic cruelty. But it's still interesting. but then crystallizes a story route that I can only describe as more stereotypical for a video game than, say, a love interest the protagonist is supposed to love, with 20 minutes of screen time that of course gets kidnapped, or a seemingly erratic one-dimensional bad guy who only gets fleshed out into a more interesting character by optional text that waddles so fanfictions could fly, or even a boss fight with a giant humanoid just wanting to take a walk in peace. That generic section of course turns out to be a cheeky little jab against video game conventions, but this otherwise not featured kind of cheekiness felt to me a little toothless, and it did not compensate me having to grind my teeth through the genericness. Then the story gets rolling again, a bit slower with clumsy exposition dumps and less new gameplay stuff. So you somehow got to the last stretch, and there's a moment where the game ironically either falls into stereotypical movie or JRPG final territory, but it still works. And here is an ending sequence that in its structure is not completely new in the video game sphere, but in regards to AAA games, its message still has some fresh air left. Some twists, some callbacks, some beautiful pictures, and some emotional moments follow, even if there is some last minute waiting around in between the interesting chunks. And then, after the credits rolled, I had for the most part the same satisfied feeling I get after finishing a Hollywood movie. With that in mind, I have to conclude the section with the gut feeling that Death Stranding's story follows similar ideals as a Hollywood movie, even if I can't completely pin them down, while being more complex and interesting for interpretation, but also at the same time more structurally long and messy. But I think in the end most of my questions were at least answered, albeit there are still things left to imagine, theorize, and think about. And thinking about stuff I sure did too much. The shades on this topographic map are pixel mush my brain drowned in. Outside the hideout's no music player as far as I can tell. And I know I should want to absorb the realistic soundscape and all, but Metal Gear Solid 5 has a Rockman, come on! Ropeways are cool if you are lucky and there's nothing in the way and a second ropeway in reach, unless you want to constantly carry a building machine on your poor back. There are like 2 random jump scares in this mostly non-horror game, and if someone knows why, please write a detailed explanatory letter to me. Those exoskeletons could feel more distinct during gameplay in my opinion. When the scriptedness of some weather changes and therefore BT encounters is visible, I felt that little bit betrayed by data on a disc. Also, once or twice, the facial features fell for me down the uncanny valley. And what about the aspect everyone suspected to be the #1 immersion breaker? While it of course could be due to me only having watched 1 season plus 1 episode of The Walking Dead, and that several years ago, in German no less, the famous face of Sam did not really distract me. But then I delivered something to Conan O'Brien! And I don't know him in real life or something, but I consider this digital representation of him a fool for transferring that awesome hot head to me! Yes! Sadly, it can only be seen when stuff hits the fan or rain the soil. Not being able to have that hat on 24/7 is in my opinion a digital crime worth investigating. Junji Ito, horror manga master and part-timer in the respectable profession of cat video evaluation, who actually was also part of the failed Silent Hills project, also cameos. But I sadly did not get to him, so no footage for that. I'm sorry. But to move on to the bright spots during this long video trip. While this like thing brings Death Stranding just closer to our own digital dystopia on this very platform, I can only appreciate this person-to-person thumbs-up thing. There's a scene I was afraid would go into a, for me at least, in context of a serious main story, very jarring, quiet-esque fan service direction, but it actually turned out to be an interesting dramatic story moment, so props to Hideo Kojima. Look at this little human! I said that the BB interaction could be more effective, not that it did not work. By the way, I like BB's theme. like the musical theme. It's beautiful! This is not a tear. Video game reviewers don't have a license to cry. We don't feel things. We just are objective opinions. By the Bridges Bridge, your robot flower can also be used as a mobile in those cradle situations. And like everything else, it also can give you a thumbs up. When there are functioning ropeways, they're awesome! You can draw your own path on this pixel mesh map with waypoints. Here's Digital Mads Mikkelsen with glasses. You're welcome. I like the small sound that comes every time the rain stops and you can breathe easily again. Another sound that I liked is the one the otter head makes when it finally rests on your head, just like nature wanted. Whatever I did here with the touchpads. How Sam walks here. This robot with its happy little whistling. Digital Blu-rays and double jumps and logo drops. The photo mode helped me a lot with creating my video review. You can put sunglasses on indoors. Besides that, I appreciate all the other little things changing in your hideouts over the course of the story. Like this little cartoon cryptobiote on this jar. That is really nice. Who's the best cryptobiote? Yeah, you! Look at that little smile. On the same table we also have... Wow, this set looks so realistic with all this rough fabric and is not by Monster Energy produced in-universe beer with its realistic labeling and tagline and its crisp colors and no more beer for you! By the way, I liked most of the Hideout's music selection and have fun with the knowledge that all those people are now a thing in the Death Stranding universe. The holograms of the people you deliver to can be seen from the outside and even react to your calls. Santa hats in December on sad holograms are a fun touch. By the way, retrospectively, happy holidays everybody! As a present for making it to this point, here's German dubbed Digital Mads Mikkelsen as a sad Santa.
Frohe Weihnachten.
Now we enter the on the thumbnail advertised mid-pandemic view. And this is going to be a bit anecdotal because I am obviously not a clone. While I am writing all this, it is the 15th January of 2021. Which is really weird because now when I'm recording this, it is the 19th February of 2021. I know this video takes a while, it's exam season, I am not a clone, and I have a cold, sorry. But regardless, any date in 2021 was a date nobody that lived last year was really sure would happen, but it will take a while till we reach something like normalcy again. Even before the start of this pandemic, was my family consisting of my parents and an inscrutable slacker parasite in the fortunate position where we could get our groceries delivered to our house in nice colorful paper bags. But during a pandemic, this of course became a bit more complicated. You had to wait for a delivery appointment till late at night, not got everything, everyone was more confused or scared than usual, and the delivery company apparently may or may not got involved with one of the biggest financial scandals Germany has ever seen, because 2020 was 2020 and it will not let you forget that. Long story semi-short, we got some food via mail. And this entailed packages not arriving, packages arriving only with egg mash as content, packages wrongly arriving with the order of someone else, countless packages for neighbors, package cartons having to be disassembled while the ghosts of trees deservedly haunt you, paranoid and scary supermarket visits between waves in the summer. And all this, I think, makes me now look back at my experience with the game in a different light. You need to be happy for every physical thing that makes it to you in one piece. You can't just haphazardly go to a store and pick up a used copy of Anarchy Reigns and a Blu-ray of the Neon Demon, cause you had to kill 20 minutes till the next train arrives and you still had pocket money left this month. Every one of our boredom or panic purchases has to be painstakingly transported through the wildlands, buried in bubble wrap or styrofoam, and put in front of the door by post people who in the most personal cases only get greeted by a far-removed image of the recipient. Then they have to move on, and the process starts all over again. I will not say that Hideo Kojima somehow, over all those development years, has predicted the easily or not so easily predictable, but Death Stranding's scenario has become incredibly relatable now. The world is scary. It's inhabited by invisible, but also kinda not predictable things that can kill us. You can only meet the digital holograms of people, therefore only getting a glimpse into their boring lives. The future looks bleak. And you're today's static, and you can't do really much about it. You have to wait till you get your package, the good news, or scientific advancements that make the situation more bearable. And there you are in a really fortunate position. Besides my first difficulties with the gameplay, was this relatability the main reason why I dreaded continuing to play the game. Without much equipment in the first chapters, you're relatively helpless, like now. I don't know if the sentiment here is in itself relatable, but I also can see how this exact relatability can help many through all this here. So, also in regards to the situation, I want to be honest here. Before starting production on this video, I was so sure that this year would end with me heroically declaring that I found the mistake this totally overrated video game legend made. I would laugh at his hubris and feel for at least a short while a little better about myself. Hideo Kojima is a respected video game designer who is showered in standing ovations and whose pre-pandemic autograph sessions lasted for up to an hour. He knows Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, Junji Ito, Guillermo del Toro, and many more people you can only dream of being in the same room with. And his creation produced enough merchandise and fan investment to build a fortress. On the other side is me, like many other people, your unknown local internet weirdo who has nothing to their name, sitting in a sad room during a pandemic, with an uncertain and undecided future. Trying to look past all these things that led to my biases in the beginning, I in conclusion have to admit, Kojima and his team made a competent and for the most part detailed video game that may not got me fully hooked with all of its gameplay and parts of its story, but has rightfully found its way into the hearts of people that crave for something like this in the AAA space. And it sits rightfully on many people's 2019 Game of the Year spots. Despite Devil May Cry 5 coming out the exact same year and inventing the perfect bread crust and kittens. Okay, statistically speaking, there's probably an indie game out there that is a more cohesive exploration of Death Stranding's themes, but has it that really specific Hideo Kojima touch? Probably not. Don't be scared now. Besides you, a smug older sibling you did not know you had has appeared with a canned beverage in their hand to remind you that Death Stranding did not have the sales of, say, the next Call of Duty modern sliced bread war for America and no one else or something. Carefully shush them away with the information that according to Hideo Kojima, the game recouped its costs and even turned a profit. Now go away! With that in mind, should there be a Death Stranding 2? Besides, of course, the prequel pitch with financial prospects beyond our wildest dreams. If I have to be honest, I don't want the Death Stranding 2. I don't have any desire to play any more of this for the foreseeable future, and I don't see a good way to continue the story in a video game. We now will ignore the rumors about a possible extended cut release of Death Stranding on PS5 that popped up while I was editing the script for this video. Death Stranding keeps on coming out. This had to be done. I am not sorry. I am never sorry. The text on the screen is lying. I wish Hideo Kojima and his team the best, and I am excited to witness their future artistic endeavors. Maybe it turns out to be just my thing, and I can finally feel like some people do with this game. So you say that the hubris was on your side? Yeah, I am honest here and self-reflective, and you are not the one that I gave the game to. Now that I think about it, why are you still here? Don't tell me you didn't make it out of this room yet. There's the door handle right in front of you. How do you even know that? You hubris idiot! Hubris idiot. That's such a bad comeback. The hubris is on your side. All of you. How? We are alone. You don't understand Death Stranding like I do. Why? What? Death Stranding is the first game of Kojima Productions, whose logo looks like a chicken. Random? No. Animals being humans. Hey! Don't you want to help us assemble the new, old furniture and the other 50 same-looking cubicles? Teamwork makes the dream work. You don't understand Hideo Kojima's mind like I do. We are soul siblings. Soul siblings! I shouldn't have asked. Just leave some red string for our introductory. We have survived the fire, web of connectedness, okay? It's not really needed. I know you all. Even if I actually don't want to, because you all don't see all aspects of Death Stranding's complex setting and we lost another one.